is seeing the good in the bad situations. You know, he knew that they needed to kill him in order for his purpose to be fulfilled. So it's easy to see. It's not easy, but you know, you need to see the good in what appears to be bad, because there's purpose in it.
How did he seem when you talked to him the next day?
He seemed a little bit distant still,
Yeah.
but I did tell him about that his chalk drawings were in black and white, because he sees everything as good and evil, you know, light and darkness, which was symbolized in the drawings that he was drawing, and that when he could see everything as life, as good, then he would draw in color.
And what did he say to that?
I mean, he understood and stuff. He just still seemed a little bit distant, but it was just kind of a conversation in passing, because he was walking by me.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hi, do you remember me?" And he did. So, and then the other thing I told him was that if there was any fear, you know, when you have new beliefs, you know, that you...
Yeah, old fears come up.
Well, when you have beliefs that pop up that you're looking at, you know, and if it's a fear, if you're afraid to even look at them or even to think about believing them, that's fear, and fear is the enemy. So it's like anything that you're afraid of, you know that life is on the other side of it, because fear is there to stop you. And so if you recognize that fear is the enemy, not the belief that's on the other side, and so you press through that fear and say, you know what, I'm going to push through that fear, and I'm going to look at that very thing that's on the other side, and you know, research and do as much, get as much knowledge as you can for information, so that you can understand it, you know, because fruits are some of the seven spirits of God is wisdom and understanding, and to, you know, and so you're supposed to get wisdom, but wisdom comes from...
That's it. That's exactly the Will Smith video where he's talking about jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah.
And being scared to death, and then like 2 seconds after you finally jump out, you're complete bliss, and you realize all that fear was a waste of time and energy.
Yeah, fear is a wall that holds you back from life.
Yeah.
And freedom.
I have always said that fear is probably the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest hindrances to the progress of humanity in general.
Yes.
Because that's the quote. If you're not living your dreams, it's because you're living your fears.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that I sensed in him. We're talking about a kid that we met in London who was drawing on the street, doing chalk drawings on the street in this where I filmed the musician, and he was complaining about something that happened to him in, where was it? Paris?
He wasn't really complaining.
He written a thing about, he was trying to bring awareness to he was doing a chalk drawing somewhere. Was it in Paris or somewhere?
Somewhere, I don't remember where else.
And the cops came with guns and forced him to leave,
and they were calling him a terrorist.
Saying he was a terrorist, yes.
I don't know what.
But they didn't arrest him. They just made him leave.
They just made him leave.
So they didn't think he was a terrorist, or they would have arrested him. But
that made him leave and come to London, which is where I had the opportunity to have a conversation with him about looking at those men with guns calling him a terrorist as good, and he couldn't see it that way. He only saw the evil that was at work within them, and so he couldn't see that it was a good thing. But I said I was trying to get him to understand that it was a good thing that they came, because he would not have chosen to come to London if they would not have come and made him leave. And so, because I said, you probably got a little idea in your head to come to London, but you pushed it aside, you know, or maybe he didn't, I don't know, I was just speculating, but he finally decided to come, which gave me the opportunity to have the conversation with him about, it was a hard conversation, about looking at what we perceive as evil, or the enemy, or Satan, or fear, whatever we want to call it, is a tool to get us to go where God wants us to go, and to look at it as good, and he could not even conceive.
He had a very biblical black and white view of good and evil, although he seemed more open-minded, to me at least, than a lot of Christians would be about that sort of thing. But he was still stuck in that, you know, everything's black and white, there's good and there's evil, and that's it, and there's no in between, and that sort of thing.
Which is why I was sharing with them, you know, Adam and Eve in the garden ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So you see everything as good or bad. And I asked him, so what would it look like to eat off of the tree of life? Everything would give you life. You wouldn't perceive anything as good or evil. Everything would just give you life, which is almost the same as taking the evil out of the equation. You just see everything as good. So what would that look like? And he actually stopped and thought, okay. And it made him
think.
Made him actually think. Because what would it look like if everything that you ate, consumed, you know, the thoughts that you buy into and believe, the opinions that you digest and become your own, you know, that's what it means when talking about eating from those trees. But it's the stuff that you consume.
The symbolism and the metaphor.
Yeah.
Metaphors are more important than whether it actually happened or if it was just
it's irrelevant whether, I mean,
because there's an argument of whether it actually
literal.
happened or not, or whether it was literal or not. It doesn't really matter.
That's not the point
it's
of
the
the
lesson
story.
that you can learn from the metaphor and the symbolism that's the most important part of it. And so, which is very difficult, especially for a lot of Christians.
A lot of anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to just
segregate
Christians.
anybody.
This young man happened to be, you know, a Christian, and coming from that perspective, and so we have that background too, so we could talk to him from that perspective. But you can find metaphor and symbolism in just about everything. The movies nowadays are full of that kind of stuff. A lot of people just see the entertainment, but anytime I watch a movie now, I usually see symbolism in it. Or if I don't, if it's just a mindless movie, I usually don't finish watching it.
Or if you're missing what it is.
Or maybe I'm just missing what it's
the allegory.
The message, yeah.
Because I've watched The Matrix and fallen asleep how many times? And it's full of symbolism, but I fall asleep because I'm not looking for it or I'm not seeing it. But one day it won't put me to sleep.
Well, and that was several years ago when you were still kind of more black and white about things.
Well, I've been seeing symbolism.
Now you see symbolism in everything, so I'm betting if you watch it.
But I was
now
seeing,
you'll be going, oh, okay.
I've been seeing symbolism for a long time, but maybe it's just not time for me to see the symbolism in that movie, because I need to come to a different place where more of the symbolism will open itself up to me, and you know, my understanding just isn't there yet for that movie or something.
Which is interesting because, in my opinion, The Matrix is one of the all-time best movies for symbolism and metaphors for life and so on. So, but I've talked to people that go, "What are you talking about? Like, you didn't see that? No, it's just a good movie, you know, or not a good movie, whichever they thought about it." Like, so, perspective is everything.
Yes.
Our perspectives color everything that we see and do.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're just sitting out here on the patio, enjoying the early morning weather with my beautiful wife. We just got back from London yesterday. We had a fantastic time there,
Yes.
meeting all the business accelerator people there, and being around that high energy group that probably made the trip. London is cool. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of things to do there. You could spend several weeks there. We did a few things. We got to see Buckingham Palace. We got to see the British Museum, which was quite intriguing. You could spend weeks in there and probably still not see it all. They had the Rosetta Stone there, which I didn't know they had. They had a lot of Egyptian stuff there, mummies and sarcophaguses and all that sort of thing. Up there, big old jet flying over. Looks like a military jet. But it's nice to be back. But we got back and got to the apartment and we're like, okay, what do we do now? We're bored. So we missed the energy. We walked a lot in London. We rode the trains. The trains were very confusing at first, and we sort of started getting it down right about the time we were ready to leave.
It's like a scavenger hunt. Like that. I wish I could remember that TV show. Reality show that they went all over the world and they had to find their way to places to find clues to the next spot, but getting there was like us trying to find our way around in London, and it was a challenge. It was an adventure. It was a scavenger hunt. Once I saw it as a game, then I stopped being nervous about it and it became fun.
Again, all about perspective.
Yeah.
All about perspective. Well, all right, my friends, this is our first video. My wife and I have been talking about having the conversations that we have and videoing them, and so this is the first one. I may do a little editing on it because it's actually getting pretty long here. We're at 30 minutes now, but I'm going to cut it off here, and hope everybody has a great and fantastic day, night, evening, wherever you're at, and looking forward to talking to you all soon again. Take care. Bye-bye. Say bye.